Hi, it's Corene, and today I have a completed mini album to share with you. I do have a mostly start to finish of how this album came together. I will play that in just a moment here, but for those of you who are not interested in watching that, I thought I would do a quick flip through of the album. And as you can see, I'm using some gorgeous flowers and some products from Wild Orchid Crafts. They have some amazing sales going on right now, so I hope you stop by and check out Wild Orchid Crafts. I'm also using a gorgeous new to me paper collection. It's by Velvet Vintage Art. It's an Etsy store, and the collection that I'm using is Romantic Shabby Roses. I will be sure to link that down in the description box. It is a digital collection, which means once you purchase it, you can use it over and over and over again. I love using digital collections. You've seen me use them a lot in the past. I love it because you can customizing it to different scales, different patterns. If you're not at all familiar with digital collections or digital paper, check out the description box. I have a video that I've done where I explain more how I use the digital. You can keep it as simple as printing it out, cutting it out, and using it on scrapbook layouts, cards, wedding books, invitations, tons of things. And this collection here would make a gorgeous wedding album. So this album here, let me show you what I've done. I do not have the video showing how I made the mini album itself. I do have a video tutorial in the past showing how I made a gatefold album just similar to this, a little bit different size. So I'll be sure to link that in the description box as well. So again, this process video that I do have coming up here in just a moment does not show the putting together of the album. It just takes a little too long. This album is 7 by 7. The spines, I believe, are about 2.5 inches. Here's the back, and look how gorgeous this shabby paper is. Again, this collection is called Romantic Shabby Roses. You get 16 different patterns in an 8 by 8 format, meaning you can make them as big as 8 by 8. You can even go larger. It just won't look as crisp and clear as the artist designed. But you can also make them smaller, which you'll see some examples. On the side, I have this gorgeous trim that I had in my stash, and I'm using some of the white flatback pearl from Wild Orchid Crafts. On the front here, I have a large ornate label cut out with this beautiful saying, and I have several sayings throughout the album, several different sentiments. All of them I've purchased from the Silhouette America online store. So this one here says there is always something to be thankful for. And I have 4 different mats here. Peeking out, I have a pink layer and then this beautiful paper that comes in this Romantic Shabby Roses collection. The pink, I pulled from the pink in one of these roses here, so it all coordinates perfectly. I have 4 different layers of the pink gardenia roses here. I layered on top of it a white chrysanthemum, and I have a couple more white chrysanthemums here. I have the smaller part that I pulled from this large gardenia over here on the side, and I have some white and pink center wild roses from Wild Orchid Crafts, and then I have one of their new Lotus flowers in white right here. I love those. I have scattered some pearls. These are the smaller self-adhesive flatback pearls, and then I have a larger and then some medium ones, all from Wild Orchid Crafts. Again, I'll be sure to link those in the description box. Here I have a little bow that I cut from my cameo. This was also cut from my cameo as well. And to the center I have a colored rhinestone in a diamond center. Again, Wild Orchid Crafts. I wanted to tie that black in. With this shabby collection, you could use, for the base of your album, you could use craft, white, pink, pretty much anything. I love, love, love the way it looks against black. So I made sure to do black accents throughout. And I also have a piece of the paper on both the spines, but I covered most of it up. But I did want it behind there just to show a little bit of the color. So I did use Velcro. There's lots of ways you can close a gatefold album. I went with the Velcro because it is really strong and I wanted something strong, and I thought about tying it with ribbon, but I ended up just using Velcro. You can also use magnets. I found on the last gatefold album that I used, the magnets did not work as well, so I might need to get much larger, stronger ones for a gatefold album. So as you can see, it opens up to this. On either side of the flaps I have photo mats with this gorgeous paper again, and these will hold 2 by 2 photos. So I have 2 on the back flap, or the right side of the flap I should say, and then 2 on the left. And let me give you a close-up of how gorgeous this paper is, and as you can see, it just, the black, it pops beautifully with the black. So here is one of the large papers, and I've just simply scaled it down to a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 piece. Here and here. And then I used an Ali Edward digital stamp that says recognizing the beauty in the middle of it all. I thought that was perfect on this beautiful paper. Some of the papers I just left like this without a photo mat to it, with just a beautiful saying. I really debated back and forth if I wanted to really embellish a heavy embellished album, and I chose this time to do a less embellished album and let the pictures speak for themselves with these gorgeous papers. I do plan on doing a wedding album with this in the future, and that I will add embellishments to the album. Here I also have another piece of that gorgeous paper, and at the bottom it says memories are timeless treasures of the heart. Really tiny there. So this has 6 different pages in it. Every single one has a side pull-out mat where I've designed a beautiful bracket edge for the side. And these will hold large photos or several small photos or lots of journaling. The inside pages are 6 3/4 inch square. Every single page has a photo mat. These are backed with some black chipboard, so they have a little bit of dimension here. So the black piece of paper cardstock underneath is 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. The beautiful design paper is 4 1/4 inch square. That way this will house a perfect 4 by 4 photo. So I thought Instagram photos would be perfect for this album. So here's a perfect example of the digital papers. These 2 papers are the exact same papers. This I printed out to 6 1/2 inches square, and then this one is 4 1/4 inch square. So as you can see, it just scales it down beautifully, and it looks like 2 different pattern papers. That's one of the main reasons I like using digital, and there's so many reasons I like, because I can make cards. Like I said, I plan on making a wedding album with this collection. Some beautiful different things. I love the gorgeous imagery. So all the pages are the same, besides, like I said, I did do focal pages. This came in the collection. I added this beautiful sentiment, and it says make your own sunshine. Again, love the black with that. Here's another photo mat. Beautiful papers. And then here is this paper here is the same as this little one here. So let me give you a close-up of that. There it is, little, 2 1/4 inch square, and then here it is 6 1/2. Beautiful. This one here says be your own kind of beautiful. This is a frame that came like this. Added the sentiment to the center. Gorgeous. And then on this side it says there is always something to be thankful for. Again, here's another example. This paper and this paper are the exact same. This one is how it came, printed it out at 6 1/2 inches, and then this one I scaled up quite a bit to make it look like a completely different page. And then on the very back I added 2 different pockets, an Ali Edward stamp that says so completely grateful. I added a scallop border here, another piece of the paper, and then in the collection you do get 3 different types of tags. You get frames, some journaling cards. These I backed on some black cardstock. They would be perfect for photos on the back. This is a tag that came in the collection. And then here's some more here. Dream Big, Sparkle More, Shine Bright. Again, all of my sentiments come from the Silhouette America online store. Here's another one of those beautiful journaling cards. And then here's some of these frames that come in the collection. I'm using them as either photo frames or journaling cards. So if you'd like to see how this album came together, please stay tuned. And thanks so much for stopping by. Check out both Wild Orchid Crafts and Velvet Vintage Art Etsy store. Links will be in the description box below. Have a great day and thanks for stopping by. Thanks for staying for the embellishing of this album. As I previously mentioned, I did not film the making of this portion of the album because it is very time consuming, and I do have a video tutorial showing how I make a gatefold album. So check the description box for a link for that. I did prepare as much as I could ahead of time, and here are the pull-out mats for the pockets. These are going to be my photo mats and some journaling cards as well. My photo mats, I have a chipboard piece and then I'm going to adhere a cardstock piece, both in black, 4.5 inches square, and that's going to give each photo in the album a little bit of dimension. I also prepared the pockets for the back, and here's going to be my photo mats. These are cut to 4.25 inch square. These are just absolutely beautiful papers. Here are the pages, or the papers for my pages. These are cut to 6.5 inches square, which will give me a nice matting of black on each page. My inside pages are, the outside of the album is 7 by 7 and the inside pages are 6 3/4 inches. So like I said, with having these papers cut to 6.5 inches, it'll give me a nice black mat to each page. Here's the back piece of my album. I did leave a white square on each page because it's just a waste of ink, and here I'm showing you that that matting piece will cover up that middle of that paper, so that's why I left a white square on each. So now I'm just adhering my cardstock piece right down to my chipboard piece using some Fabri-Tac. I like using Fabri-Tac because if it squeezes out and leaves a little bit of glue, you can use an adhesive remover and it'll wipe right up. It won't leave any mess when you're done. So I've prepared all of them ahead of time. I did one of them on camera and I love how black looks against it. So same thing, these are going to be my inside photo mats, and these are going to hold a 4x4 photo perfectly, an Instagram photo perfectly, or any photo that you just have printed out 4 inches by 4 inches. You can even have that done at Walmart. So I'm not doing all of these on camera. I just showed you a couple of them. I'm just simply adhering them down. And here they are all done. And I did mention previously in the video that I show you the different scales. This is the exact same paper. One is the 6.5 inches and the other is the 4.25, and you can see how it makes it look like a different paper. That's one of the many reasons I like using digital papers. So here I'm just going to lay out how I want my papers. I'm just kind of looking to see how I want this album laid out. I'll do all of that, lay it out where I want, and then go back and adhere one by one each page down. Using my ATG, I'm going to adhere down each page. I like putting a glue in the middle as well. I want to make sure it's adhered down well. And I'm adding a scrap piece of paper behind it to kind of block off the rest of the album. That way I can see, I can focus on just that page and make sure that my border of black is pretty even all the way around. On these inside cover pieces, I did use double-sided adhesive. So I'm just removing the backing on that, adding glue to the center and adhering that down. And then I'll just switch around my scrap piece, adhere down my next piece, and again off camera I will finish adhering down the rest of the papers. I really struggled with whether or not to embellish this album, but the papers were so pretty I decided to just let them be the main focus, that along with the photos once they're added. So this back piece, as you can see, there's a white border. It's going to be covered up with pockets, so I didn't worry about printing anything on that. And I print everything from a Canon Pixma printer. I do it on high resolution. It really does not take up a lot of ink. Again, there's a video down in the description box where I talk more about digital papers and how to use them. So if you're interested in that, check that out. Here I'm just adhering a piece of the pattern paper to a scallop piece that I cut out from my Cameo. And with digital papers, you can have your digital die cutting machine cut them out for you, or you can simply print them out, cut them out by hand or with your paper trimmer, whatever's easiest for you. So I really didn't measure out too much. I just kind of eyeballed these papers. I mean, I did measure them, the width of them, to make sure that they fit that back pocket. And then I'm adding glue to 3 sides. And here I'm just showing you if any of the glue does seep out, use one of these adhesive removers and you will never be able to tell. That's part of the reason I like using the Fabri-Tac, besides that it's a strong glue. So I'm just adding this small piece. Again, I'll be adding another black pocket so you won't see all of that. So I just print it out and cut out a small piece there, adding my second pocket to the bottom. And that's So Completely Grateful is a Allie Edward digital stamp that I got from her website. I'm going to be using these non-sticky sheets. They come with the ATG rolls, and adding that, because I'm using wet glue and adding that little scallop piece down, I didn't want any glue to seep over and glue my pocket shut. There's a spine piece, a matting piece. This paper collection will make for a beautiful wedding album. So here I'm just again deciding which matting I want to go with which paper. So I'm getting them all in place, and then I'll go back and adhere them down to make it quick. Again, using Fabri-Tac. It adheres pretty quickly, but it also gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you need to adjust something. Adhering my last one down. This album came together quickly. I spent about 3 days doing it because I did it in different parts, but it was all pretty quick when it came together. Here I wanted some photo mats. These are going to hold 2x2 photos. And these first ones I'm just going to eyeball. Second ones I eyeball, but then I go back and use my ruler just to see if I needed to adjust it a little. And I did adjust it, the ones on the right here, slightly. And here are the side pull-out mats. So this album, even though it is small, there's not a lot of embellishments, it will hold a lot of photos. It'll hold journaling if you want to use journaling. Those pull-out mats for journaling, you could do that. Now I'm adhering down the back of my cover. If you only remove one side of the tape backing, it allows you to kind of move around the paper to where you can get it centered exactly where you want. Press that down, then go back and remove the adhesive backing from the rest of it. And as you can see, I also like to add glue to the center. Here I tried to do this on camera, but really it's always easier for me to pull it into my lap so I can look straight down on it. So I had to take that off camera and adhere the spine pieces. But again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just adhering or removing one piece and then getting it centered, and then I go back and remove the tape backing from the rest of it. So again, I did that one off camera as well. And then on this second piece here, I'm checking to make sure I have it the direction the correct way, because they're the exact same piece, so I did want them to match. And then I'm aligning that and adhering that down as well. I'm going to put a rubber band around it to kind of hold it in place until it sets up and sits correctly. It keeps wanting to open. So the rubber band helps hold it in place. Here are some die cuts with a beautiful sentiment. I cut these out from my Cameo. I got the sentiment from Silhouette America online. Check the description box and I'll leave a link for that, for Silhouette America. And this is a beautiful nesting frames. Again, I purchased that from Silhouette America, so I'm just adhering all of the layers down. And deciding how I wanted to close my album, I pulled out a couple ribbons to decide. I chose Velcro. The last time I used magnets, it did not want to hold well, so I need to order some really big magnets. I have smaller magnets, so I decided instead of ribbon to go with Velcro. Velcro is really strong, and I don't mind the look of it. It's black on black, and then when you open the album, you don't stare at the front covers anyways. You're looking at the inside of the album, so I really don't mind the Velcro. So I did add, even though it's sticky back, I added a little bit of E6000 to the back of it. And after I adhere down this center piece, which I'm only adding my glue to the left side, being that it's only going to be glued on one side, I do let it sit overnight and come back to it. Really, with E6000, whatever you're using, if you can let it sit overnight, that's going to be your best bet. So I'm just eyeballing that the center of my die cut, pressing that down, and then I'm adding another stronger rubber band around it until that dries, giving that a few minutes to dry. Now here's where I add the other side of the Velcro to it, again using E6000. I'm just matching those up. I'll add the E6000, close my book again, and let it sit overnight. So I did also add this beautiful trim to the sides. Again, I had to do that in my lap, so I didn't even film that. And I'm pulling out this gorgeous flat back pearl trim from Wild Orchid Crafts. I absolutely love this trim. It's one of my favorites. You see me use it a lot. And I'm just adhering it down with hot glue. You can also use Fabri-Tac for this as well. I love how quickly hot glue adheres. And a little of the hot glue got on the ribbon, but it's not a big deal. If it doesn't, I tried to pick it off, it doesn't pick off. Just use your heat gun and it'll just dissipate. It'll melt right away. So I did that on both sides of the spine, and now I'm going to embellish it with the gorgeous flowers. I'm using some pink gardenias, some off-white chrysanthemums, and I've layered those together. I'm going to tuck in an off-white chrysanthemum there. And then this is one of their newer flowers. It's called a Lotus flower. They come in different colors. I'm using a white one here. And on this right side, I'm trying to decide if I want the flowers to be adhered to my die cut or the album itself. If those flowers there, if I adhered them to the album itself, it would get in the way of me opening and closing the album. So I believe 3 of them I adhere to the die cut itself, and then 1 I will adhere onto the album itself, just because I wanted it off to the right slightly. So these 3 are adhered directly to the die cut. That way, opening and closing the album, they won't get in the way. But this one, I wanted it off to the right. So I just adhered it directly down to the right part of the album. And again, when you're opening and closing the album, you're not staring at that portion of it. You're looking at the insides of the album. This black bow, I really liked it right there a lot, but it covered up part of the sentiment. So I went ahead and adhered it to the top instead, using a little bit of Fabri-Tac. Into the center, I used one of the rhinestones from Wild Orchid Crafts. And to finish off the album, I'm using 3 different size pearls from Wild Orchid Crafts. These are the self-adhesive pearls. I like to use a little bit of glossy accents with them. And you can either pull off the little glue portion to the back or not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I always add a little glossy accents to adhere those down. And these larger pearls, I'm just using some hot glue. You can't do that with the little pearls because they're so tiny, but like I said, these medium and larger ones that I'm kind of tucking throughout, I use the glossy, the hot glue rather. I'm just scattering those around the entire front of the album. And I did cut out a tag that's from that paper collection. Beautiful, beautiful tag. And I'm adding a black bow and a rhinestone embellishment to the center. And now I'm just going to tuck in my journaling cards, and that completes the album. I'm so glad you stopped by today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please stop by and check out Wild Orchid Crafts and Velvet Vintage Art, the Etsy store. They have so many amazing products on Wild Orchid Crafts, and they're running a great sale. So I hope you stop by both of, like I mentioned, Velvet Vintage Art and Wild Orchid Craft. You'll find the links in the description box. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.